We need to talk about this man. Who is Andrew Amechi Ocheku, the British-Nigerian businessman who has been making headlines for the past few weeks after two young girls from Facebook paid him a visit in his house in Aba, only for them to end up missing. Many people believe he belonged to a syndicate of organ trafficking. Some other people believe that he works for rich, powerful men supplying human parts for the sole purpose of money ritual. And now that he's dead, it seems as though his story is way more complicated than what it really seems. We've talked about this story before in our YouTube, you can check it out. But just to brief it quickly, back in April, two young girls, Celine and Afiba, made headlines after they went to visit Andrew Amechi in his house in Aba. This was supposed to be a simple company visit. These two girls were supposed to keep this rich man company just for a few days. And through screenshots, we're now able to tell that Amechi offered them 1 million naira each for both of them, Celine and Afiba, to spend 2 days in his house with him in Aba. It's not clear what the details entailed, whether or not sex were going to be involved or exchanged, or whether or not they were just there to keep him company. And looking at his Facebook, he posed as a businessman and also had videos of himself with other young girls having a good time going to restaurants. It seemed innocent. However, everything would change when one of the girls, Celine and Afiba, begin to reach out to their loved ones, telling them that this man that they had gone to see has abducted them, has kidnapped them, and is threatening their life. And immediately, that was how these girls lost communication with the rest of the world. Nobody could hear from them anymore. And thanks to the swift action of the police, that was stalled 1 or 2 times, but eventually, Andrew Amechi was caught and arrested. And we thought by this time we would get the answers we were looking for. Where are the girls? And what did he do with them? Unfortunately, that answer was never gotten. It was rumored that people in higher power tried to stop the police from locking this man up, from arresting him, and from investigating him. Eventually, the headquarters in Abuja would get involved and Andrew Amechi would be requested to be sent to Abuja for more investigation. However, on their way to Abuja by road, when they got to Benue State, it was claimed he tried to run away and ended up getting shot and killed. And this headline did not sit well with a lot of people who believe that there was so much more to him just getting shot and killed. Given that people in higher power has tried to stop the police from investigating him, a lot of people began to suspect that it's still those people in higher power who asked for him to be killed, to silence him. But here's the trick. It was now later reported, because we didn't include this in our previous video on YouTube, it was now later reported that after his death, the sum of 80 million naira vanished from his account, which meant somebody had extorted him or he had sent money to someone just before he was killed. It has not been said who got the money or who took the money off his account or where the money had gone to. But what we know is that the money was no longer in his account, 80 million naira. At the time of making this video, we heard that the police who were involved in shooting or killing him had been arrested. However, no words from them. And I don't expect much words to come out from them, because some people are now giving theories. There are theories that are alleging that it's the policemen who collected the money and shot him to keep quiet. And that is a strong accusation on the Nigerian police, but it's not far from something we've seen before. Let's not act like we haven't seen something like this many times in the past. And when you look at that alleged accusation towards the Nigerian police, it's almost plausible. Because let's face it, it was the same Nigerian police that were trying to protect him from the get-go when this story made news. And when we finally got to know the deep history of this man, as told by one of his friends who came on social media to tell us his history, his past.
And Andrew has been my friend for over 10 years.
Okay.
So I know him. We live in the same community.
It is possible that this man and the police may have a good or may have a familiar relationship, which would justify why the police were trying to protect him at the initial time. From what we know or from what we've heard, and according to Andrew's friend, a man named Ben Samuel, who owns a notable blog in the UK, he claimed that he had known Andrew for nearly 10 years, that they've been friends for a very long time, that Andrew was born in the UK and he was adopted by a Nigerian couple. And while he was in the UK, he had, a good education, he had a good life, very successful business. He was a successful businessman. He was making money. So the 80 million naira was sure. So we know now that his source of money is from his business. So he was actually a successful businessman because many people doubted that. He had once even, growing up as a child, he even moved to Nigeria for a while before going back to the UK to live, for the most part of his life. His business included managing of council properties, like he was into properties management, and that is a big deal over there because they said that was giving him a lot of money. So, and I think his Nigerian adopted parents were also wealthy too. So, money for Andrew Amechi was not a problem. He wasn't doing money rituals from the get-go. If people are suspecting that that is the case now, there's a chance that that might not be the case. However, the friend went on to reveal that he believes that Andrew Amechi has mental health issues. And his mental health issues seem to be towards women. He seemed to have a very horrible relationship with the female gender, as he has been known to be abusive, verbally assaulting, physically aggressive, and so much more. Even as a successful businessman and an engineer, yes, he was also an engineer, his wealth was used as a weapon to get women and treat them a type of way. That seemed to be consistent with his story from the past and his current situation now, even in his death. Ben revealed that while in the UK, Andrew assaulted a woman and ended up going to prison for 2 years. By the time he came out, his business, he lost it, but he had enough money and he decided to move back to Nigeria, which I think that is where his story here in this country started all over again. It was said that he could not move to any other country given his record and how abusive and how, his past life with beating up women and dealing with them. So only Nigeria could accept him. I guess that was our first mistake, accepting a woman beater. But I guess he's Nigerian, and so he deserved to be here in his home country, since no other country would take him. He then started a company here in Nigeria, a betting company known as the Black Sheep Group. And I think that is where most of his money, started coming up from. He controls many betting platforms, according to what was said. It was then revealed that barely 3 months in Port Harcourt, barely 3 months in Nigeria, he assaulted a woman. He beat up a woman and pushed the woman off a story building, and he got arrested for that. And I think I remember this story back then. I'm not so sure. I think this was back in 2022. I remember a story of a man who pushed a young girl off a story building. And I think he's him, but I don't remember the details of that story. But that was the thing. This was his issue. The mental instability of this man did not end. It continued. Even after being arrested for assaulting a woman in Port Harcourt, he managed to pay his way out of it. And I think this is where his relationship with the police started. This is where his relationship with bribing or paying the police out of getting in trouble began. And Ben was very detailed with this story because he said that Andrew and him spoke a lot, that Andrew told him a lot about the things he was going through in Nigeria. And many people now believe that Ben and Andrew were most likely working together. Now, this Ben guy did not deny that he did not know about these things that Andrew was doing with this woman, because there are multiple accusations on this man. He had encounters with multiple women, many of them who have accused him of sexual assault, stealing, sodomy, threats, and even physically beating them up. And according to Ben, despite knowing this, he said he could not report to the police because he too was afraid of his life, because he cited that Andrew was very powerful and well connected. And another thing too, in his defense, he claimed that the reason why he did not want to report to the police, given what he knew about Andrew, was because a lot of these women were adults who chose to be with him. But the thing here is, these women did not know what they were dealing with, because Andrew usually comes with this facade of being nice or being loving. He had this sugar daddy vibes, a young sugar daddy vibes, and used his money as a front to attract these women, only for them to go and visit him, and then they get to see the monster that he is. But this is where Andrew's story with Celine and Afiba gets very confusing, because as it stands now, it's still looking like Afiba and Celine might be dead. A body has been seen around this vicinity, which indicates that there is that chance that these two girls have been killed. But here is where people are confused. Did he kill them for the purpose of money ritual, to sell their organs? Because one of the body's head, hands, and leg were not seen. And over here in Nigeria, that indicates something. That indicates so much more than what it looks like. Even if I tell you right now that I believe those girls were not killed for the purpose of money ritual, some people will still not believe it, because that is not what we are used to here. But we'll talk more about it in a while. But it's just important that we get to understand that the fact that many policemen or the police people were trying to protect Andrew at the initial time is mostly because there is that possibility they knew about his dealings with these women. They knew about his mental health. They knew that a lot of his encounter with some of these women who are accusing him were mostly something that could have been settled out of court. Because one thing is a fact: a lot of these women accusing him made it out of his house alive. And I think that is something people need to put in mind. Afiba and Celine might be his first killing victims, as far as we know. They seem to be the unlucky ones because all the girls coming out came out alive. He could have killed those girls, but a lot of them are alive to tell their story. And they also saw a lot of hell. But why is the case of Afiba and Celine very different? Why are they the ones who seem to most likely be killed by him? It's a question that I don't have the answer to, but we can try to reason it out together. The routine is Andrew meets girls. Whenever they get out of hand, his mental health begins to, reveal itself, and he gets physical with them, get assaultive with them. They leave his house, go and report him to the police. He goes to the police. He pays his way out of it. He's a millionaire. He can afford it. And the police will be happy to take the money and settle this out of court. And that looks like something that will be consistent. That looks like something that will be repetitive. And I think that is why the police at the initial time were trying to avoid him being investigated or checked or even arrested, because he has a relationship with them. It wouldn't be the first time he's paying his way out of it. Even one of the girls who was assaulted claimed that she had tried multiple times to go to the police, but the police shunned her because Andrew has covered it. Even earlier this year in 2024, there were other girls who had gone to see him and had unfortunate encounters with him, but those girls made it out alive. However, in April of 2024, the story of Celine and Afiba would go viral because they are the only ones who seem to not have come out to tell their own story. They were, however, able to let people know that they had been kidnapped because they are new to the situation and they did not know what to do. And that is why, in my own feeling, or what I feel, is that Andrew may have taken a drastic measure with these girls to maybe kill them in bid to silence them, because he probably started figuring out that while they were in his house under captivity, these girls were speaking to people outside who are already contacting the police. So he knew he was in trouble, and these girls were still in his house. And I think we saw that in Umoren's case, the girl who went for a job interview only to be, ambushed by a guy who tried to force himself on her. And while everyone on Twitter were trying to find this girl, trying to find this boy, his name and his pictures and his phone number was already going viral on Twitter because words got out that there was a girl in his house. He panicked, he got scared and decided to kill the girl and bury her in his father's compound so that he can easily deny it, and even when the police come around, they would not see her. And I think that was the case here with this man. That was the case here with Andrew. Prior to Afiba and Celine, he had been treating girls horribly and getting away with it. He had been treating these girls terribly and not facing enough consequences. Now with Afiba and Celine, he realizes that the internet is looking for them. He realizes that Celine's sister was coming to the police in Abad there to find him. And that was when he felt that if these girls would leave his house alive, he would be in bigger trouble. And I think that may have been what pushed him to kill these girls. And again, he has mental health issues. There's even a chance that these two girls tried to put up a fight and he ended up killing them, because we also hear he has a gun license. We were told that this man's relationship with the police has gotten to the point where he actually does own a gun in his house. So he is as deadly and dangerous as he appeared to be. But just so we are clear, as at the time of making this video, it has not been confirmed that these two girls are dead. Although a body has been seen, it has not been officially put out there that it belonged to one of them. Although we've heard that the body found might have been that of Afiba, but the parents of Afiba in Ghana are refusing to believe so, because there was no head, no hands, and no leg. And the reason why a lot of killers or serial killers usually do this when they kill someone is so that they would not be easily identified. No dental record, and maybe DNA could help, but that can be disputed if it gets to court. I assume that is why, but I'm not very conversant in the legal part of that aspect. While the case is still on, right now the girls are still being looked for, and the police who had killed him are still being investigated in custody. I don't know if we will hear anything from that aspect. I feel like 80 million naira being snatched out of his account was Andrew attempting to pay his way out of that situation. I think that is the case. This man is used to paying his way out of situation. Nigeria is a country where if you have the money, you have the way. And I believe that that 80 million naira that left his account was him trying to not get to Abuja headquarters, was him trying to pay his way out of it, only for wherever he gave the money to maybe turn around to betray him. Because when they say he tried to run and he was shot, I don't buy that story. I don't believe it. Andrew is a big, hefty man with pot bellies. He's in his early 50s. I don't think if he was trying to run like an athlete, he would have gone very far. So there was no need to shoot him. He would run to a point and get tired, and you guys can drive and pick him up. Or they could have shot his leg. When we saw his body, it looked like he was shot in his chest and face, which meant he was shot facing a police officer. He didn't look like who was shot running away, because the bullets would have been in his back for the most part. But when we saw his body, it seemed like he was shot from the face directly in his chest and stomach area, which meant whoever pointed the gun at him was looking at him directly. He wasn't running, obviously. So that claim that they killed him while he tried to run, it's a lie, in my opinion. It's not believable. I feel he was killed and assassinated to be silenced, not to protect any rich billionaire, people who he's using to do organ trafficking or body part harvesting. They killed him because of that 80 million naira. That's what I feel. That is my thoughts. Because they know he's a billionaire and they know he's in deep shit. They know he has a lot of case. At this point, he would most likely go to jail and use his money to fight his way out of it. But I don't know. This man doesn't look like who has the mind to deal with the law. And I can imagine he also panicked too, because this might be the first time things were getting out of hand for him. Every day for the thief, they say one day for the owner. It's unfortunate that this case has to be exposed with the risk effect of the lives of these two girls, Celine and Afiba. But we will just have to wait and see how this case unfolds. So far, this is everything that we know. And a lot of people still believe he was into body part and organ harvesting. It will be easy to believe, given what we're saying now. But I always feel like for the fact that many of his victims had come out and survived it, then he may not be what we think he is. Although one of the victims expressed that she believed he was into organ harvesting because of he used that words a lot to threaten them. Like, oh, I will kill you here and I'll cut your part and sell it. Those words were used a lot to oppress, bully, and harass a lot of the girls who fall into his trap. And it's easy to believe so. Again, there is a possibility he is. Let's not act like I know it all or I am the investigator here. But going by what we know now, everything points down to the fact that Andrew might have been a mentally unstable man, which is believable, given how he switches personality whenever he tries to get these girls to when he finally gets them. His personality changes. He goes from a sweet, loving, sugar daddy type of businessman to a unruly, rude, serial killing type of man, which can be scary. It's a very scary experience that you meet a man who takes you out on dinner, buys you beautiful things, promises you millions of money, tells you you'll be comfortable, and then you go to his house, you guys have sex, and then in the middle of the night, he's slapping you, beating you up, threatening your life, trying to rob you, take your money, trying to sodomize you, threatening to kill you, pushing you out of his balcony. It is very creepy and very scary. This is something out of a horror movie. The only unfortunate thing now is that I feel like it would be nice to hear more people who know him speak. But so far, nothing good has been coming out of people who know him. So it will be hard to defend him. It will be hard to dispute the fact that there's a chance that he is what the people think he is. However, you guys let me know your thoughts. Do you think Andrew's case was a case of mental instability, was a case of mental illness? Or do you think he was indeed working for a syndicate of organ trafficking and organ harvesting? Let me know your thoughts on that part. I also want to hear your thoughts on the 80 million naira that was allegedly transferred from his account. Do you think the police had a hand in it? Or do you think this is Andrew maybe sending the money somewhere? Or was he trying to use it to bribe his way out of this situation? 80 million naira would have been very small for him, in my opinion. Doesn't look like a lot of money though for him, because he would most likely have access to more of that if he gets back his freedom. But he had a lot of cases to answer. We still don't know where the girls are. But I think with more search, these girls would most likely be found, dead or alive. And given how much time it has been since the news broke out, dead most possibly. Or are they tied up somewhere in his house, in a dungeon? I don't know. I really don't know. But this is what I said in our last video, in our previous video about the story. Police need to search not just Andrew. They need to search his co-workers. They need to search people who lived in his house. His boy, gatesman, houseboy, butler. For a billionaire like that, he would have people who come to his house on a regular basis. He would have relatives. You can't tell me that Mr. Ben Samuel from the UK is the only person who knows about Andrew. There are people who know about this man and his dealings. I'm sure even people in the police force would know about it. For him to kill two girls and have their body buried and hidden, someone must have seen it. Someone must have assisted him. His mobile phone needs to be checked. Who was he speaking to around this time these girls were there? Who was he calling? Who was he texting? We are making it look like it was just him alone. I am very certain that there were more people. However, though a lot of his victims never mentioned anyone else apart from him, it would be nice to know those girls who went to his house and survived him, if they saw anyone else, co-workers, if there were anybody there that they saw that they believed may know something at least. Because Andrew Amechi might be dead, but the truth isn't. The truth is still somewhere out there, and we deserve to know, honestly. We deserve to know. So thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Turn on your notification button so whenever there is an update on this story, I'll be happy to update you guys.